Ya's suitcase exploded. Not metaphorically. Actually exploded. The zipper finally gave up after she'd overstuffed it with last-minute shopping, and suddenly Incheon Airport's pristine floor was covered with her underwear, African print fabrics, Korean skincare products, and for some reason, a collection of kimchi-flavored snacks she'd promised to bring back to Ghana. No, 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 no! Ya dropped to her knees, her generous hips spreading as she crouched, trying to gather everything before the entire airport saw her business. Her bright red boo-boo dress pooled around her like a tent. Her braids swung forward, nearly knocking over a bottle of essence that had rolled away. She was grabbing a particularly embarrassing pair of granny panties when a pair of expensive leather shoes stepped directly on her favorite shea butter cream. "Move!" a cold male voice said in Korean, not asking, commanding. Ya looked up and up and up. The man was tall, sharp-featured, wearing a suit that screamed money and danger. His eyes were dark, calculating, empty of warmth. Behind him stood 3 other men in black suits, equally intimidating, scanning the area like security detail. No, not like security. They were security. "I'm having a situation here," Ya snapped back in Korean, her accent thick with frustration. "Can't you see my life is literally all over this floor?" "Not my concern." He stepped over her scattered belongings without even looking down, crushing her shea butter container under his expensive shoe. "You're blocking the path." "Well, excuse me for existing." Ya stood up, all 5 feet 6 inches and 250 pounds of her, hands on her hips. She was done being dismissed. "You just destroyed my cream." He finally looked at her, really looked at her, and his expression was pure ice. "Then you should have packed better." He said it with such casual cruelty that Ya felt her temper snap. She grabbed her largest bottle of lotion from the floor. For one wild second, she genuinely considered throwing it at his perfect, arrogant face. "I wouldn't," one of his security men said quietly, hand moving inside his jacket. "Wait, was that a gun?" "Miss Ya! Miss Ya!" a breathless voice called out. Minji, her friend who worked at the airport, came running with a roll of duct tape and an empty box. "I saw what happened. Let me help you." The man and his entourage walked away without another word, like Ya was beneath their notice. She stared after them, fury making her hands shake. "Who the hell was that?" Ya demanded, shoving kimchi snacks into the box. Minji's face had gone pale. "You don't know? That was Kang Ji-hoon. His family doesn't just own half of Seoul. They control it. Construction, real estate, underground gambling, protection services. People say they have politicians and police on payroll. The F4, they call them. 4 families that run everything from the shadows. I don't care if he's the king of Korea. He's rude. Rude is the least of what he is." Minji looked genuinely scared. "Yeah, people who cross the Kang family tend to have very bad luck. Business failures, sudden visa problems, worse. Just forget this happened. Forget that some gangster stepped on my stuff and treated me like garbage? Hard pass." Minji grabbed her arm. "I'm serious. These aren't normal rich people. These are dangerous rich people. Promise me you'll stay away from him." "That won't be hard. I'm leaving Korea tomorrow anyway." "About that," Minji bit her lip. "You're not leaving tomorrow." "What?" "Typhoon warning. All flights to Ghana canceled for at least 3 days, maybe longer." Ya stared at her duct-tape suitcase, at the crushed shea buttercream, at the airport where she'd just had the most humiliating moment of her life in front of some Mafia prince. "You've got to be kidding me. If you're already hooked on this disaster, hit that subscribe button right now because Ya's about to get tangled up with the most dangerous man in Seoul, and trust me, it's going to be explosive. Comment below if you've ever had a travel nightmare like this. You won't believe what happens when these two collide again, and they will. Oh, they definitely will. But let's rewind to understand how Ya Mensa ended up exploding her suitcase in front of Korea's most dangerous family. 3 months earlier, Ya had arrived in Seoul with dreams bigger than her overpacked luggage. At 29, she'd built a successful online brand teaching African women about Korean beauty and fashion. Her YouTube channel, Melanin Meets Seoul, had exploded to 500,000 subscribers. Her Instagram aesthetic of vibrant African prints mixed with Korean street style had caught attention worldwide. Kim Cosmetics, a major Korean beauty company, had invited her to Seoul for a potential partnership. They wanted to create a plus-size inclusive Korean fashion line with her as the creative consultant. It was everything she'd worked toward. The first meeting had been amazing. They loved her ideas. The contract was generous. Everything was moving forward. Then 3 weeks in, the CEO's son had taken one look at Ya in person, whispered something to his father, and suddenly the project was being reevaluated. Ya knew exactly what happened. She'd seen it before. They loved her online where she was just a face and a brand. In person, her size became a concern. Would Korean consumers accept a fat black woman representing their products? The answer, apparently, was no. 2 weeks later, after 3 more companies had similar reactions, Ya had decided to cut her losses and go home. Seoul was beautiful, but she was tired of being rejected for existing in a body that didn't fit their narrow standards. She'd spent her last days shopping, eating amazing food, trying not to feel like a failure, hence the overstuffed suitcase. And now she was stuck in Seoul for 3 more days with a broken suitcase, no hotel room because she'd checked out that morning, and the memory of Korea's most dangerous businessman looking at her like she was trash. Perfect. Just perfect. Minji helped her get everything to the airport hotel. "At least you can explore Seoul a bit more," her friend said, though she didn't sound optimistic. "I've explored enough. I just want to go home." "Just be careful, okay? And if you see that man again, walk the other way." That night, Ya posted on her Instagram stories, "When your suitcase explodes at the airport and some gangster steps on your shea butter, you know the universe is having a laugh. Stuck in Seoul for 3 more days. Send good vibes." The post got 20,000 likes in an hour. One comment caught her eye from a brand new account. "The universe isn't laughing. It's setting things up. Sometimes the worst collisions lead to the biggest explosions." Weird, but okay. The next morning, Ya decided that if she was stuck in Seoul, she'd make the most of it. She wore her brightest yellow African print dress, styled her braids in a high bun, and set out to explore Gangnam one last time. She was filming content outside a luxury shopping center, talking about Korean architecture, when someone bumped into her from behind, hard. Her phone flew from her hand, skittering across the pavement toward a drainage grate. "No!" She lunged forward, but someone else was faster. A hand caught the phone just before it disappeared. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." A young woman in designer clothes was slightly out of breath. "I wasn't watching where I was going." "It's okay." Ya took her phone back. The screen was cracked. "Great. Accidents happen." "No, I feel terrible. Let me fix it. My brother owns a repair place nearby. Well, his company owns it, but same thing. Please, I insist." Before Ya could protest, the woman had linked arms with her like they were friends and was pulling her down the street. "I'm Kang Min Seo, by the way. I'm super clumsy. My brother says I'm a hazard to society." Kang. That name again. "Your brother wouldn't happen to be Kang Ji-hoon?" "Unfortunately, yes. The cold, scary one who runs the family business. Total nightmare to live with, but he's my brother, so I'm stuck with him." "Oh no. Oh, hell no." Ya tried to extract her arm. "You know what? I can fix my own phone. Already here." Min Seo pushed through the door of a sleek electronics store. The staff immediately straightened when they saw Min Seo, fear and respect in their eyes. She handed over Ya's phone like she owned the place, which apparently her family did. 30 minutes. Let's get coffee." Min Seo dragged Ya to a cafe next door before she could escape. Over iced Americanos, Min Seo chattered enthusiastically. She was studying fashion in London, back in Seoul for family obligations, desperate for normal conversation with someone who wasn't terrified of her last name. "Everyone here walks on eggshells around me," Min Seo complained. "Because of my family. It's exhausting." "Your family being," Ya probed carefully, "complicated, powerful, scary to outsiders." Min Seo waved her hand dismissively. "I try not to think about it. I just want to design clothes and live my life. What about you? You're clearly not Korean." I'm from Ghana. I'm a content creator. I teach African women about Korean fashion and beauty. Min Seo's eyes lit up. Wait, what's your handle? Melanin meets soul. Min Seo actually screamed in the cafe. Oh my God, you're Ya. I follow you. I love your content. You're like my fashion inspiration. Despite her reservations about the Kang family connection, Ya found herself warming to this chaotic, genuine girl. They talked for an hour, Min Seo gushing about fashion, Ya sharing stories about her soul experience. Wait, companies rejected you. That's insane. You're exactly what Korean fashion needs. Min Seo looked personally offended. My brother's company is launching a new division, some kind of fashion thing. I don't pay attention to his business stuff because it's usually boring and involves things I don't want to know about. But you'd be perfect for it. Your brother? The one who stepped on my shea butter yesterday? Min Seo blinked. That was you? With the exploding suitcase? Oh my God, Ji-hoon mentioned some woman blocked his path at the airport. He was in a terrible mood because father was being difficult about something. He was incredibly rude. He's always rude. It's his default setting. Min Seo pulled out her phone. But he's also weirdly fair when it comes to business. If you're talented, he doesn't care about anything else. Let me text him about you. Please don't. Too late, sent. Min Seo grinned. Trust me, if he sees your work, he'll want to meet you. Ji-hoon is cold, but he recognizes talent. Ya wanted to argue, but what was the point? It's not like anything would come of it. They picked up her repaired phone and exchanged numbers. Min Seo hugged her tightly. I'm so glad I broke your phone. This is fate, the universe making us friends. After Min Seo left, Ya spent the rest of the day trying not to think about the Kang family. But everywhere she looked in Gangnam, she saw their influence. Buildings with the Kong Industries logo, security guards in black suits, people who seemed to know and fear that name. What kind of business was she accidentally getting involved with? That evening, eating tteokbokki at a street stall, her phone rang. Unknown number. Miss Mensa? A woman's voice, crisp and professional. This is Secretary Park from Kong Industries. Mr. Kang Ji-hoon would like to meet with you tomorrow at 9 a.m. to discuss a business opportunity. Ya nearly choked on her food. I'm sorry, what? Mr. Kang saw your portfolio. He's interested in discussing a partnership. Will 9 a.m. work? Every instinct screamed at her to refuse. This was a bad idea. The man was clearly involved in dangerous business. His sister had basically confirmed the family was more than just wealthy, but this was also potentially her last chance at success in Korea. I'll be there, Ya heard herself say. After hanging up, she immediately called Minji. The gangster wants to meet me. What? No, Ya, I told you to stay away from him. His sister recommended me for some fashion project. Ya explained the whole situation. This is a terrible idea. These people are dangerous. Not just rich dangerous, but actually dangerous. There are rumors, Ya, about what the Kang family really does. I know, but I've come too far to give up now. Besides, it's just a meeting. What's the worst that could happen? Do you really want me to answer that? That night, Ya couldn't sleep. She researched Kang Industries obsessively. On the surface, it was legitimate. Construction, real estate, technology. But dig deeper, and there were questions. Competitors who mysteriously went bankrupt. Politicians who suddenly supported Kang projects after being opposed. Journalists who dropped investigations without explanation. And Ji-hoon himself. He'd taken over at 25 after his father had a stroke. But the circumstances were suspicious. Some articles hinted his father's stroke happened during a violent confrontation with a rival family. Ji-hoon had consolidated power quickly, ruthlessly, eliminating anyone who challenged his authority. One article called him the Ice Prince of Seoul's underworld. Another said, he doesn't just run a company, he runs an empire. Cross him and you disappear, legally or otherwise. Ya stared at his photo. Cold eyes, perfect features, an expression that promised danger to anyone foolish enough to challenge him. What was she getting herself into? But she thought about her dreams, her followers counting on her, the women who needed representation. She thought about going home having failed versus taking a risk with someone dangerous. She'd faced danger her whole life. Being fat and black in spaces that didn't want her was its own kind of warfare. Maybe it was time to be strategic about the battles she chose. The next morning, Ya dressed carefully, not to impress, but to armor herself. She wore a floor-length black dress with gold accents, her braids in an elaborate style, her makeup dramatic and perfect. She looked expensive, powerful, untouchable. She looked like someone you didn't dismiss. Security at Kang Industries was intense. Metal detectors, ID verification, cameras everywhere. The guards eyed her suspiciously until Secretary Park appeared to escort her. The elevator to the top floor required a special key card. The hallway had more cameras. Everything screamed surveillance and control. Secretary Park knocked on massive double doors, then opened them. "Mr. Kang, Miss Mensah is here." Ya walked into an office that was more like a throne room, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Seoul like a kingdom to be conquered. Expensive art that probably cost more than most people made in a lifetime. And behind a desk that could seat 6 people, Kang Ji-hoon. He looked up from his computer, and Ya saw the exact moment recognition hit. His expression didn't change much, but something flickered in those cold eyes. "Miss Mensah." He didn't stand. Power move. "Sit, Mr. Kang." Ya sat, keeping her spine straight, refusing to be intimidated. They stared at each other for a long moment. The air felt charged, dangerous. "My sister thinks I should hire you," Ji-hoon finally said. "She sent me your portfolio and approximately 50 text messages explaining why you're perfect for our new project." "Your sister is enthusiastic." "My sister is naive about how business works." He leaned back in his chair, studying her like a predator assessing prey. "But she's not wrong about your talent. I reviewed your content. Impressive numbers. Strong engagement. You've built something substantial. Thank you. However, you have a problem." He pulled up something on his screen. 5 Korean companies rejected partnerships with you in the past month. Why? You know why. I'm sure you researched me thoroughly. I want to hear you say it. Ya lifted her chin. Because I'm fat and black, and Korean companies are afraid consumers won't accept me. Cowards. He said it with such contempt that Ya was momentarily surprised. They wanted your credibility without committing to actual inclusion. Typical corporate weakness. Weakness seems to be going around. You stepped on my property yesterday and didn't even apologize. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. His 3 friends, who'd been standing silently by the window, all turned to look at her. Secretary Park made a small noise of alarm. Ji-hoon's expression didn't change, but his eyes became absolutely glacial. "You're either very brave or very stupid to bring that up. I'm honest. I thought you'd appreciate that, given how much you seem to hate corporate games." For a long moment, nobody moved. Ya could hear her heartbeat in her ears. She might have just made a terrible mistake. Then Ji-hoon smiled. It wasn't a warm smile. It was the smile of a shark who'd just found interesting prey. "I like you," he said, and somehow that sounded more threatening than if he'd been angry. "You have guts. Most people are terrified to even look me in the eye. You just criticized me in my own office." "Should I not have?" "Most people shouldn't. You can." He leaned forward. "Here's the situation. My company is launching an inclusive fashion line, plus-size Korean fashion that doesn't compromise on quality. We need someone who understands the market authentically and isn't afraid to challenge the status quo." "Why?" "Why what? Why does someone in your position care about inclusive fashion? Forgive me, but you don't seem like the body positivity type." His friends shifted uncomfortably. Apparently, people didn't usually question Ji-hoon's motivations. "My sister developed an eating disorder trying to fit Korean beauty standards," he said flatly. "She nearly died. She was hospitalized 3 times. I watched her destroy herself trying to be acceptable." His voice was emotionless, but his hands clenched slightly. "This project is personal. I'm going to force Korean fashion to expand its standards, whether it wants to or not, and you're going to help me do it." That sounds more like a command than an offer. It is what it is. He pushed a folder across the desk. 6-month contract, creative director position, full control over design and marketing, substantial salary, take it or leave it. Ya opened the folder. The numbers made her eyes widen. This wasn't just good money. This was life-changing money. "There's a catch," she said. "There's always a catch with people like you." "People like me?" "People who run empires from the shadows." One of his friends laughed, a short, sharp sound quickly cut off when Ji-hoon glanced at him. "Smart woman," Ji-hoon said. "Yes, there's a catch. The launch is in 6 weeks. That's ambitious but non-negotiable. We're making a statement and timing matters. 6 weeks is impossible. I don't accept impossible as an answer." He stood, walking around his desk. Even sitting, Ya felt his presence like a physical weight. "You'll have unlimited resources, my full support and access to anything you need. In return, you deliver a collection that changes Korean fashion forever. And if I fail, you won't. How do you know?" He looked at her with those cold, calculating eyes. "Because people who fail me experience consequences they don't enjoy. But you won't fail. You're too proud, too talented, and too determined to prove everyone wrong." It should have sounded like a threat. It probably was a threat, but it also sounded like he understood her in a way no one else had. "I have conditions," Yaha said. "Of course you do. Full creative control, no compromises, no interference. What I say goes." "Agreed. I choose all models, different sizes, different backgrounds. This has to be genuinely inclusive." "Agreed. If this becomes a PR stunt instead of real change, I walk, and I take my designs with me." Bold, but agreed. "And you apologize for the airport." Silence. His friends looked shocked. Secretary Park looked faint. Ji-hoon's expression didn't change. "You're really going to make that a condition of employment?" "I am." Most people would be grateful for the opportunity and forget the airport incident. I'm not most people. And gratitude doesn't erase disrespect. They stared at each other. Ya refused to back down, even though her heart was racing. She had no idea what this man was capable of, but she wasn't going to start this partnership by being treated as less than. Finally, Ji-hoon spoke. "I apologize for my behavior at the airport. I was dealing with family issues and took my frustration out on you. It was inappropriate and disrespectful. Thank you. Don't think this makes us friends. Wouldn't dream of it." "Good." He returned to his desk. "Welcome to Kang Industries, Miss Mensa. Secretary Park will handle your paperwork and visa extension. You start tomorrow." "Tomorrow? I haven't even signed the contract yet." "You will." It wasn't a question. "Because you're as ambitious as I am. You see this opportunity for what it is, a chance to build something that matters. Consequences be damned." He was right, and they both knew it. Ya signed the contract that evening after having a lawyer review it. Everything was legitimate, or at least legally binding. She was now working for one of Seoul's most powerful and dangerous families. Her mother called from Ghana that night. "How's Seoul, my daughter?" "It's complicated, Mama. I got a job offer, a big one." "That's wonderful. See, I knew you'd make it." "Mama, the company. The people running it are connected to some dangerous things." Her mother was quiet for a moment. "Is this job what you came to Seoul for? Will it help you achieve your dreams?" "Yes." "Then you be smart, you be careful, and you show them what Ya Mensa can do. But at the first sign of real danger, you come home. Success isn't worth your life." "I will, Mama. I promise." After hanging up, Ya stared at her signed contract. She'd just agreed to work with a man who likely had blood on his hands, who controlled Seoul through fear and money, who looked at her like she was both interesting and disposable. This was either the best decision or the worst decision of her life. But Ya had never played it safe, and she wasn't about to start now. She posted on Instagram, "Plot twist, I'm staying in Seoul. Just accepted a position with one of Korea's biggest companies. We're launching a plus-size inclusive fashion line in 6 weeks. To everyone who rejected me, watch me. To everyone who said I couldn't make it, watch me. To the women who've been waiting for representation, this one's for you. Let's change the game. The post exploded. 50,000 likes in an hour. Comments poured in with support and excitement. One comment made her pause. Be careful with the Kang family. They're not what they seem. Too late for warnings now. She was already in too deep. The next morning, Ya arrived at Kang Industries at 8 a.m. sharp. She was dressed for war, comfortable but stylish, her braids in a high ponytail, her game face on. The design team was waiting in the conference room. 15 people, all Korean, all eyeing her with a mix of curiosity and skepticism. And at the head of the table, Ji-hoon and his 3 friends. This is Lee Tae-min, Ji-hoon introduced, gesturing to a man with sharp features and calculating eyes. Electronics and tech. Park Jun-woo, shipping and logistics. Choi Sung-ho, entertainment and media. The 4 families work together. They'll be supporting this project. The F4. Right. Ya was working with all 4 crime families now. Great. Everyone, this is Ya Mensa, your new creative director. Ji-hoon continued, his voice carrying absolute authority. She has full control over this project. Her word is law. Anyone who questions her answers to me. Any problems, you bring them to me. Are we clear? A chorus of, yes, sir, answered him. One woman, older and severe-looking, raised her hand. With all respect, Mr. Kang, Miss Mensa has no experience with Korean production standards. Perhaps a co-director would be... Did I ask for suggestions, Manager Kim? Ji-hoon's voice was soft, dangerous. Manager Kim paled. No, sir. Then perhaps you should trust my judgment. He turned to Yai. The floor is yours. Ya stood, her stomach churning but her voice steady. I know you're all skeptical. I'm foreign, I'm plus size, and I don't have traditional credentials. But I understand this market better than anyone. In this room because I've lived it. I've been rejected, dismissed, and told I don't deserve beautiful clothes my entire life. This collection isn't about pity or charity. It's about creating fashion that's genuinely beautiful and accessible. Fashion that celebrates bodies instead of correcting them. She pulled up her presentation. We're creating 20 pieces, Hanbok-inspired designs adapted for curves, modern streetwear in extended sizes. Every piece will be tested on real bodies, not mannequins. The models will be diverse in size, age, and background. This isn't performative inclusion. This is real change. The team listened, some nodding, others still skeptical. But they were listening. We have 6 weeks, Ya continued. That's ambitious. But if we commit, if we work together, we can create something Korea's never seen before. Something revolutionary. Revolutionary tends to have consequences in this industry, Manager Kim said carefully. Good, Ya replied. We're counting on it. Ji-hoon smiled from his position at the head of the table. Not a warm smile, a satisfied predator smile. Any other questions? Silence. Then get to work. The meeting dispersed. Ji-hoon caught Ya's arm as she was leaving. His grip was firm, controlled, a reminder of the danger beneath the business suit. Impressive presentation, he said quietly. You're good at hiding fear. Who says I'm afraid? I do. I can see it in your eyes. You're terrified of me, of this situation, of what you've gotten yourself into. He leaned closer. But you're more afraid of failure than you are of me. I can work with that. I'm not afraid of you. Liar. But he said it almost admiringly. Just so we're clear, Miss Mensa, you work for me now. That means you're under my protection. Nobody touches you. Nobody threatens you. Nobody dismisses you. In return, you deliver results and you don't ask questions about things that don't concern you. And if I do ask questions, then we'll have a different conversation, one neither of us will enjoy. He released her arm. Now go. You have a revolution to start. Ya walked away, her arm tingling where he'd touched her. She was in way over her head. This wasn't just a fashion job. This was something darker, more complicated, more dangerous than she'd anticipated. But she'd signed the contract. She'd committed. And Ya Mensa never backed down from a challenge, no matter how terrifying, even if that challenge came with ice-cold eyes and blood-stained hands. The next 2 weeks were intense. Ya worked 16-hour days, designing, consulting, pushing the team to excellence. Ji-hoon was always there, watching, observing, occasionally offering input that was frustratingly insightful. But there were moments that reminded her this wasn't a normal job. Security guards who appeared whenever she left the building. Designers who flinched when Ji-hoon entered a room. Meetings that got canceled suddenly with no explanation. Ji-hoon disappearing for hours and returning with tension rolling off him in waves. She never asked, because asking meant acknowledging what she already knew. Late one night, Ya was alone in the design studio, working on sketches. She heard voices in the hallway. Ji-hoon's voice, cold and threatening. Another man's voice, pleading, "Please, Mr. Kang, I have a family." Should have thought of that before stealing from me. A sound, like something heavy hitting a wall. A groan of pain. Ya's hand froze on her sketch. She should stay in the studio, mind her business, pretend she heard nothing. But she'd never been good at pretending. She cracked open the door. In the hallway, Ji-hoon stood over a man slumped against the wall, 2 security guards flanking them. Blood dripped from the man's mouth. Ji-hoon's expression was completely empty, emotionless, more terrifying than rage. "You have 24 hours to return what you took," Ji-hoon said calmly, adjusting his cufflinks. "After that, your family learns what happens to thieves, starting with your daughter's scholarship, then your wife's medical treatments, then we get creative. Understood?" "Yes, yes, I understand." "Good." Ji-hoon turned and saw Ya in the doorway. His expression didn't change. "Miss Mensa, still working?" She should lie. Pretend she just arrived. Instead, she said, "I heard voices." "Business," he said simply, walking toward her. Behind him, the security guards dragged the man away. "Nothing that concerns you." Blood stained the floor. Ji-hoon stepped over it without looking down. "You should go home," he told Ya when he reached her. "It's late." "Is that man going to be okay?" "That depends on whether he returns what he stole." Ji-hoon studied her face. "Does this bother you?" "Should it?" Most people would be disturbed, running, calling the police, though that wouldn't help them. "I'm not most people." "No," he agreed, stepping closer. "You're not. Which is why you're still standing here instead of running. You're curious, maybe even intrigued by the darkness. I'm horrified, but not surprised." He was close enough now that she could smell his expensive cologne mixed with something metallic. Blood. "You knew what I was when you signed that contract. You researched me. You knew the rumors. You chose to work with me anyway, because your ambition outweighed your fear. That doesn't make it right. I never claimed to be right. I claimed to be effective." His eyes held hers. "I run this city through fear and loyalty. People who cross me learn painful lessons, but people who work with me, who prove their value, are protected absolutely. Which category are you in, Miss Mensa?" "I think you're trying to intimidate me. I'm being honest with you. There's a difference." He reached out and tucked a loose braid behind her ear, the gesture surprisingly gentle from someone who'd just committed violence in the hallway. "Go home. Yeah. Get some sleep. Tomorrow we have model casting. You'll need your energy." It was the first time he'd used her first name. Somehow that felt more dangerous than everything else. What happens to that man if he doesn't return what he stole? "Nothing you need to witness." Ji-hoon stepped back. "I'll have my driver take you home. Seoul isn't safe for women alone this late." "Is it safe anywhere in your world?" "For you, yes. As long as you stay useful and don't ask too many questions." His expression hardened slightly. "But test that safety, and you'll learn I don't make idle threats. Ever." Ya left without another word, escorted by a silent driver in a black car. She spent the ride staring out the window, watching Seoul's lights blur past, thinking about blood on floors and empty eyes and the casual way Ji-hoon had threatened a man's family. She should quit, walk away. This was too dangerous, too dark. But she thought about the collection, about the women waiting for representation, about her dreams finally within reach. And she thought about Ji-hoon's sister, the eating disorder, the personal reason behind this project. Monsters could have motivations too. Didn't make them less monstrous, just more complicated. Her phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number that she somehow knew was Ji-hoon. "You're safe. Sleep. Tomorrow is important." She shouldn't find comfort in his text, but somehow, knowing he was tracking her safety, aware of her arrival home, it was almost reassuring in its possessiveness. Almost. She texted back, "The blood. Did someone clean it?" The response came immediately. "Handled. Don't worry about things outside your area." Hard not to worry when violence happens in the hallway where I work. Violence is everywhere. At least in my world, it's controlled, purposeful, strategic. Better the devil you know than the chaos you don't. That's a terrible philosophy. It's a survival philosophy. Sleep, yeah. She fell asleep, with her phone in her hand, dreaming of blood-stained floors and ice-cold eyes that sometimes looked at her like she was the most fascinating thing in his carefully controlled world. The next morning, model casting started. Over 50 women arrived, nervous but excited. Ya interviewed each one personally, asking about their relationship with fashion, their bodies, their dreams. Ji-hoon watched from the back of the room, silent and intimidating in all black. Several women noticed him and became visibly nervous, their answers stuttering. One woman, a gorgeous Nigerian named Amara, studying at Yonsei University, was confident and articulate until she saw Ji-hoon. Then she froze mid-sentence, her eyes going wide. "It's okay," Ya said gently. "He's just observing. Tell me about your experience with Korean fashion." "That's Kang Ji-hoon," Amara whispered, her voice shaking slightly. "Everyone knows who he is, what his family does. My boyfriend warned me not to come today." "Why did you come anyway?" "Because I'm tired of having no clothes that fit. Because I'm tired of feeling invisible in Korea. Because you're giving us a chance to be seen." Amara took a breath. "If that means working with dangerous people, then that's what it takes. You're brave. I'm desperate. But sometimes those look the same." Ya understood that completely. By the end of the day, she'd hired Amara as one of the lead models. When the casting finished, Ji-hoon approached. "Several women recognized me. You handled it well. What would you have done if I hadn't?" "Found a different solution." He said it casually, but Ya heard the threat underneath. The project matters. Anyone who threatens the project gets removed from the equation. Removed how? Questions again, Miss Mensah. He smiled that cold smile. You really can't help yourself, can you? If I'm going to work in your world, I need to understand the rules. Rule 1. Don't ask questions about things that don't concern you. Rule 2. When I tell you something doesn't concern you, believe me. Rule 3. Focus on your work, deliver excellence, and everything else will be handled. He stepped closer. Can you follow those rules? Do I have a choice? Everyone has choices, but choices have consequences. His eyes held hers. Choose wisely. They stood there in the empty casting space, tension crackling between them. Dangerous tension that came from working closely with someone you knew was capable of terrible things, but who looked at you like you were worth protecting. Dinner, Ji-hoon said suddenly. Tonight. We need to discuss the production timeline and marketing strategy. We can discuss that here. I'm asking you to dinner, Ya. Why? Because I want to. He said it like it was simple. Because you're fascinating. Because you challenge me in ways no one else dares. Because I enjoy our conversations. This is a terrible idea. Probably, he agreed, but you'll say yes. Anyway, why would I do that? Because you're curious about me. Because despite your better judgment, danger intrigues you. Because you want to understand what makes someone like me care about something like inclusive fashion. His voice dropped lower. And because you feel this thing between us, too, whatever it is. Ya's heart was pounding. You're my boss. There are power dynamics. I'm aware. Which is why I'm asking, not commanding. You can say no. I'll be disappointed, but your job won't be affected. I'm many things, Ya, but I don't punish people for rejecting me personally. That would be weak. You're really asking me on a date? I'm asking you to dinner. If it becomes a date, that's something we'll discover together. He pulled out his phone. 7 p.m. My driver will pick you up. Wear something comfortable. We're not going anywhere that requires performance. He walked away before she could refuse, leaving Ya standing there, knowing she was absolutely going to say yes, because he was right. She was curious. She was intrigued. And despite every red flag screaming at her to run, she wanted to understand this complicated, dangerous man who threatened people's families but funded inclusive fashion for his sister's recovery. That evening, Ya changed outfits 4 times before settling on a deep blue dress with gold African print accents. Elegant, but not trying too hard. Her braids fell loose around her shoulders. Minimal jewelry. She looked beautiful without looking like she'd spent hours preparing, even though she absolutely had. The driver arrived exactly at 7, silent and professional. They drove through Seoul, away from the busy districts into quieter residential areas. They stopped at a traditional Korean house, hanok style, nestled in a private garden. Ji-hoon was waiting at the entrance, and Ya's breath caught. He wasn't wearing a suit. Instead, he wore dark jeans and a simple black sweater, looking more human and somehow more dangerous in casual clothes. "You found it," he said, which was a ridiculous thing to say given that his driver had brought her. "Did I have a choice?" "Always." He gestured toward the house. "This is my private residence. I don't bring people here, but I wanted privacy for our conversation." "Should I be concerned that you brought me to a secluded location?" "Probably, but you came anyway, which tells me you trust your instincts about me." He held the door open. "Those instincts are good, by the way. I'm dangerous, but not to you." The house was beautiful inside. Traditional architecture mixed with modern amenities. Art on the walls that looked expensive and personal, not like a decorator chose it. Real books on shelves, not just for show. It felt lived in, comfortable. "I cook," Ji-hoon said, noticing her surprise. "When I have time. Tonight, I ordered from a restaurant, but I wanted to eat here. No cameras, no staff listening, no performance." "Why?" "Because I want you to see me as a person, not just as what I am." He led her to a low table already set with dishes. "Sit. Let's eat and talk like normal people." They sat on cushions, and Ji-hoon served food with surprising attentiveness. Grilled fish, perfectly seasoned vegetables, rice, various banchan. The food was incredible. "Tell me about Ghana," Ji-hoon said. "About your family, your childhood. I want to know who you were before Seoul." So Ya told him about growing up in Accra, her mother's fabric shop, learning to sew before she could write. About her father who taught mathematics and always told her she could do anything. About discovering Korean dramas as a teenager and falling in love with a culture that seemed so different from hers, but also weirdly similar in its emphasis on family and respect. "My mother cried when I left for Seoul," Ya said, picking at her rice. "She was terrified I'd face racism and fat phobia and come home broken. My father just hugged me and said, 'Show them who you are.'" Smart man. He is. He's also the reason I don't back down from challenges. He taught me that the only opinion that matters is my own. "Is that why you called me out for stepping on your shea butter?" "That's why I called you out for being rude to a stranger having a bad day." She met his eyes. "Money and power don't give you the right to treat people as invisible." "You're right. They don't." Ji-hoon set down his chopsticks. "I was raised to see people as assets or obstacles, useful or useless. My father taught me that sentiment is weakness, that showing emotion gives people leverage against you. When my mother left, it confirmed everything he'd taught me. She left because she fell in love with someone else, chose her feelings over her family. The media circus that followed, the public humiliation, it broke my father. I watched him fall apart, and I swore I'd never be that vulnerable. So you became ice. I became strategic, controlled. I built walls so high that nothing could hurt me. He paused. And then I met a woman exploded her suitcase at the airport and looked at me like I was the inconvenience in her day, not the other way around. You treated me like I was just another rude stranger, not someone to fear. It was refreshing. So you offered me a job? I offered you a partnership. There's a difference. He leaned forward slightly. Yeah, I'm not good at this, at being open, at showing interest in someone beyond what they can do for me professionally. But you make me want to try. You make me feel things I thought I'd successfully buried. Like what? Curiosity, attraction, the desire to actually know someone, not just use them. His voice was quiet, intense. You scare me a little. Not because of anything you do, but because of how you make me feel. Out of control. Interested. Alive. Ya's heart was racing. Jihoon, I've seen you threaten someone's family. I've watched you command rooms with fear. I know what you're capable of. How am I supposed to reconcile that with this person sitting across from me talking about feelings? You're not supposed to reconcile it. You're supposed to accept that people are complicated. I can be both things. Ruthless when necessary, human when I choose to be. He held her gaze. The question is whether you can accept both sides of me. I don't know. This is a lot. It is. And I'm not asking you to decide tonight. I'm just asking you to be open to the possibility that I'm more than what you've seen. He stood and extended his hand. Come with me. I want to show you something. Ya took his hand, let him pull her up. He led her through the house to a room at the back. When he opened the door, she gasped. It was an art studio, canvases everywhere, some finished, some in progress, paintings that were beautiful and dark and emotional, Seoul skylines in moody colors, abstract pieces that felt like chaos contained, portraits of people with haunted eyes. You paint, Ya said, moving into the room, drawn to the art. I used to want to be an artist, before I had to become what my family needed. Jihoon stood in the doorway, watching her reaction. I haven't shown anyone this room in years. Minseo doesn't even know it exists. These are incredible. Dark, but incredible. They're honest. When I paint, I can't hide. The canvas doesn't care about strategy or control. He moved to stand beside her in front of a large painting of Seoul at night, the city lights looking like stars that had fallen. This is who I am when I'm not being what everyone needs me to be. Ya understood. She turned to look at him, really look at him. This complicated, dangerous, surprisingly vulnerable man who funded fashion revolutions and threatened families and painted haunting art in secret. Thank you for showing me this, she said quietly. Thank you for not running when you saw the blood in the hallway. I wanted to run, but you didn't, because you're brave and stubborn and determined to see things through. He stepped closer. Yeah, I need you to understand something. My world is violent, it's dark. There are things I do that you can never know about, things that would horrify you. I can't change that. It's who I am, what I inherited, what I've chosen to continue. I know. But with you, I want to be different. Not less dangerous, because that's impossible, but more human, more real. His voice was intense, sincere. You make me want to be better, even though I can't fundamentally change what I am. That's a lot of pressure to put on someone you just met. I know. I'm not asking you to fix me or save me. I'm just asking if you're willing to see all of me and decide if any of it is worth knowing. Ya looked at his paintings, at the vulnerability captured in oil and canvas. She thought about the violence she'd witnessed, the fear in that man's eyes, the blood on the floor, and she thought about Jihoon's sister, The personal reason behind the project, the way he'd protected Ya without her even asking. "I can't promise anything," she finally said. "This scares me. You scare me. But I'm willing to try, to see where this goes, on the condition that you're always honest with me, even when the truth is ugly. I can do that. And if I decide it's too much, if I need to walk away, you let me go without consequences." Agreed. Your safety and autonomy are non-negotiable. He held out his hand. Partners? In business and in figuring out whatever this is between us? Ya took his hand. Partners. But Ji-hoon? Yes? If you ever lie to me or manipulate me, if you ever make me feel like I'm just another asset to control, we're done. Professionally and personally. Understood. And Ya? Yes? If you ever use your knowledge of me against me, if you ever betray my trust, you'll discover that there are consequences even I can't prevent from people in my world who don't care about you the way I do. It should have sounded like a threat. Maybe it was, but it also sounded like honesty, which she'd demanded. Fair enough. They stood there in his secret art studio, hands clasped, both of them aware they were stepping into something complicated and possibly dangerous, but unable to resist the pull between them. The next 4 weeks were chaos. Ya worked around the clock, designing and perfecting the collection. The team rallied behind her vision, even skeptical manager Kim eventually admitting the designs were revolutionary. Ji-hoon was always present but never intrusive. He attended meetings, offered logistical support, secured resources, but never questioned Ya's creative decisions. When she pushed back on something, he listened. When she needed something impossible, he made it happen. They had dinner together twice a week, sometimes at his house, sometimes at carefully chosen restaurants where they could talk privately. Ya learned more about him with each conversation, about his complicated relationship with his father, who was recovering but still demanding, about the weight of running an empire built on fear and loyalty, about his dreams of maybe one day leaving it all behind, though they both knew that was fantasy. "Men in my position don't retire," Ji-hoon told her one night over wine. "We die in office or we get killed by someone who wants to take over. Those are the only 2 options." That's bleak. That's reality. He swirled his wine, watching the light play through the glass. "But meeting you has made me want to find a 3rd option. I don't know what it looks like yet, but I'm thinking about it. That's more than I've done in years." Their relationship remained ambiguous. Not quite dating, not quite just friends. There was attraction, obvious and electric whenever they were close, but neither pushed it further. Both of them knew that crossing that line would complicate everything. Until one night, 3 weeks into production, everything changed. Ya was working late in the design studio, alone except for security. She heard shouting, then gunshots, actual gunshots echoing through the building. Before she could react, Ji-hoon burst through the door, blood on his shirt, his eyes wild in a way she'd never seen. "We need to move, now!" He grabbed her hand. "What's happening?" "Rival family. They're attacking the building. We need to get you to the safe room." More gunshots, closer now. Ya's heart was pounding. Ji-hoon pulled her into the hallway, moving fast. His security team surrounded them, weapons drawn. They made it to a hidden door Ya had never noticed before. Ji-hoon pushed her inside a reinforced room, following behind. "Stay here," he commanded. "Don't open this door for anyone except me or my security team." "What about you? I have to handle this." He pulled out a gun from somewhere, checking it with practiced ease. Ya had known he was dangerous, but seeing the weapon in his hands made it real in a new way. "Ji-hoon, I'll come back, I promise." He grabbed her face, the gesture fierce and possessive. "Stay alive, Ya. That's an order." Then he was gone, locking the door behind him. Ya sat in the safe room, listening to gunfire and shouts, her mind racing. This was really happening. This wasn't theoretical danger or vague threats. This was actual violence. People trying to kill each other. Ji-hoon out there fighting. She thought about calling the police, but remembered what Min-ji said. The police didn't help against families like the Kangs. They either got paid off or stayed away. She sat there for what felt like hours but was probably only 30 minutes. Then silence. Terrible, ringing silence. A knock on the door. "Miss Mensah, it's Secretary Park. Mr. Kang sent me to get you. It's safe now." Ya opened the door carefully. Secretary Park looked shaken but unharmed. "This way, please." The building looked like a war zone. Bullet holes in walls, blood on floors, security teams cleaning up, and in his office, Ji-hoon, being bandaged by a medic. His shirt was completely soaked with blood. "You're hurt," Ya said, moving toward him before she could think. "Not my blood, mostly." He waved off the medic. "I'm fine. Are you okay?" "Me? You're the one who was just in a gunfight." "Occupational hazard." He stood, wincing slightly. "Yeah, I need to tell you something." "What?" "The attack was because of you, not personally, but the project. Rival family wants to acquire our fashion division, make a statement by taking something visible and profitable. They found out about our launch, decided to sabotage it by attacking the building." Ya felt sick. People got hurt because of my fashion line? People got hurt because other people chose violence. That's on them, not you. Ji-hoon's voice was firm. "But I need to know if you still want to continue, because this won't be the last attempt. The launch is in 2 weeks. There will be more threats, more danger." "What happens if we cancel?" "I look weak. They'll push harder. Other families will see opportunity. It becomes a bigger problem." He met her eyes. "But if you want to walk away, I'll protect you. Get you on a plane back to Ghana. Make sure you're never touched. Your safety matters more than the project." Ya thought about the models who'd trusted her, the team who'd worked so hard, the women waiting for representation. She thought about running home having failed again versus staying and fighting for something that mattered. How many people were hurt tonight? 3 injured, none critically. 2 of theirs dead. It could have been worse. 2 dead. Because of a fashion line. The weight of that crushed her. "Yeah." Ji-hoon stepped closer, cupping her face with surprising gentleness. "This isn't your fault. Violence is my world. It touches everything I do. If it wasn't this project, it would be something else. These families look for any excuse to test each other, to gain advantage. You didn't cause this. But people died. People die in my world every day. That's the reality I live in." His voice was fierce. "But you, what you're creating, it matters. It gives meaning to the violence. It makes something beautiful out of the darkness. Don't let them take that away because they're too small-minded to see value in anything beyond power." "You're asking me to continue knowing people might get hurt?" "I'm asking you to trust that I'll protect you and everyone involved in this project. That's what I do. I eliminate threats before they become problems." His eyes were intense, almost desperate. "Stay, Ya. Finish what we started. Let me show you that beauty and darkness can coexist." She should say no, should run like her mother warned her, should choose safety over ambition. But Ya had never chosen safety over anything. "I'm staying," she heard herself say, "but Ji-hoon, you need to promise me something. Anything. No more secrets. About threats. If I'm in danger, I need to know. I need to be able to make informed decisions, not be protected through ignorance." Agreed. "And the team, the models, everyone involved in this project, they get full security, non-negotiable." "Already arranged. I doubled security as soon as the attack started." "And you." She looked at the blood on his clothes. "You don't get to die before this launches. I need you alive to see it through." "Planning to stick around then?" He smiled slightly. "Against my better judgment, yes." "Good." He pulled her into a hug, surprising them both. "Thank you for being brave enough to stay." Ya let herself lean into him for a moment, feeling his heartbeat, smelling gunpowder and blood in his cologne. This complicated, dangerous man who fought literal battles to protect a fashion project. "We should clean you up," she said, pulling back. "And I need to check on the team, make sure everyone's okay." "Already handled. I sent everyone home." "With security escorts. We're resuming work tomorrow afternoon, giving everyone time to process." He gestured to his private bathroom. But you're right about cleaning up. Stay while I shower? I don't want you alone until I'm sure the building is completely secure. It was inappropriate. They were employer and employee, whatever else they were becoming. But Ya nodded, because she didn't want to be alone either. She sat in his office while he showered, processing the night. Gunshots, blood, death. And somehow, in the middle of it all, her fashion line still mattered enough that people would kill for it. When Ji-hoon emerged in clean clothes, his hair damp, looking more human without the blood, Ya spoke. Tell me about the men who died tonight. Not their names, I don't need that. But who they were. Hired muscle from a rival organization. They knew what they signed up for when they took the job. Did you kill them? Yes. He didn't hesitate or try to soften it. It was them, or my people. I chose my people. Does it bother you? Taking lives? It used to. The first time, I threw up after. Couldn't sleep for weeks. He sat down across from her. Now it's just something I do when necessary. I don't enjoy it, but I don't lose sleep over it either. That probably makes me a monster. Probably, Ya agreed. But you're a monster who funds inclusive fashion and paints beautiful art and is terrified of becoming like your father. Complicated monster, then. The most complicated one I've ever met. They sat in silence for a moment, both processing the night. I should take you home, Ji-hoon finally said. You need rest. So do you. I have things to handle, calls to make, responses to coordinate. My world doesn't sleep because I need to. Then I'll stay while you work. Someone should make sure you actually rest at some point. Yeah, I'm not asking, Ji-hoon. You said I'm under your protection. Well, protection goes both ways. Tonight, I'm making sure you don't work yourself to death in the aftermath of a gunfight. He stared at her for a long moment, then smiled. A real smile. Warm and surprised and genuine. You're extraordinary, you know that? I've been told. Now make your calls. I'll sit here and pretend to not be listening. Ji-hoon made his calls, and Ya watched him transform into the Ice Prince. His voice cold, commanding, issuing orders with absolute authority. She saw the weight he carried, the responsibility of running an empire, the constant vigilance required to stay on top. Around 3 a.m., he finally finished. Done. For tonight, anyway. Good. Now you need to sleep. I should take you home first. Or I could stay here. Your couch looks comfortable. She gestured to the leather couch that probably cost more than her annual salary. I've slept on worse. Yeah, that's not appropriate. We just survived a gang war. I think we're past worrying about appropriate. She moved to the couch, kicked off her shoes, and stretched out. Besides, I don't want to go home to an empty apartment after tonight, and I think you don't want to be alone either. He was quiet for a moment, then moved to his desk, pulling out a blanket from somewhere. At least use this. Are you going to sleep? Eventually. Ji-hoon. Fine, I'll sleep. He settled into his desk chair, tilting it back. Happy? That's not sleep. That's pretending. With a sigh that might have been amused, Ji-hoon stood and moved to the other end of the couch. Better? Better. They lay there in the darkness of his office, the city lights filtering through the windows, the sounds of cleanup crews working in the building, not touching, but aware of each other. Thank you, Ji-hoon said quietly, for staying, for not running, for caring whether I sleep. Someone has to. You're terrible at taking care of yourself. So are you. We're well matched in our self-destruction. Comforting thought. They fell. Asleep like that on opposite ends of a couch, the distance between them somehow intimate in its restraint. The next morning, the team returned, shaken but determined. Ya addressed everyone, honest about the danger but firm about continuing. What we're creating matters, she told them. Matters enough that people who fear change tried to stop us. But we're not stopping. We're not letting fear win. We're launching this collection in 2 weeks, and it's going to be spectacular. The team rallied. Manager Kim stepped forward. We're with you, Miss Mensah, all of us. The final 2 weeks were intense. Security everywhere, constant vigilance. But the work got done. The collection came together beautifully. The models were incredible. The marketing campaign was bold and unapologetic. Jihoon was ever present but gave Ya space to lead. They had dinner together most nights, talking about everything and nothing, building something that felt real despite the chaos around them. 3. Days before the launch, Ya's parents video called from Ghana. She showed them the collection, explained the success, carefully edited out the gunfight and danger. "My daughter," her mother said, tears in her eyes. "You did it. You really did it. We did it, Mama. All of us." After the call, Jihoon found her on the office roof, looking out at Seoul. "Homesick?" he asked, joining her. "A little. But this feels like home now, too." She glanced at him. "You feel like home, which is terrifying given what your world involves. I feel the same about you, which is equally terrifying given that I swore I'd never let anyone close again. We're a disaster waiting to happen. Or we're exactly what each other needs." He took her hand. "After the launch, I want to take you somewhere. Away from Seoul, away from my world. Just us, being normal people for a few days. Is that possible for you? I don't know, but I want to try." He turned to face her fully. "Yeah, these past 6 weeks, working with you, getting to know you, it's changed me. Made me want things I thought were impossible. A life beyond the violence. Someone to share it with. Purpose beyond power. Jihoon, I'm not asking for promises. I'm just telling you that you matter to me. More than the project, more than the business. You." His voice was intense, vulnerable. "Whatever happens after the launch, whatever you decide about us, I needed you to know that." Ya's heart was full. This dangerous, complicated man who'd shown her his art and his vulnerability and his fierce protectiveness. "You matter to me too," she said quietly, "which scares me more than the gunfight did. Because violence I can understand, but feeling this much for someone I barely know, someone whose world is so different from mine, that's terrifying. But you're not running." "No, I'm not running." He pulled her close and kissed her. Soft at first, then deeper as she responded. It felt like a promise and a question and a beginning all at once. When they pulled apart, Jihoon smiled. "Well, that happened. That definitely happened. The launch is in 3 days. After that, we figure it out." Ya cupped his face. "Whatever this is, wherever it goes, we figure it out together. Together. I like the sound of that." The launch day arrived. The venue was a massive gallery in Gangnam, transformed into a runway space with stunning lighting and beautiful staging. Security was intense but discreet. Every major media outlet was there. Buyers from across Asia, influencers, celebrities, people who mattered in fashion. Ya stood backstage, her heart pounding, watching the models prepare. They looked incredible. Confident, beautiful, powerful. Jihoon found her an hour before the show. "Ready?" "Terrified, but ready." "You're going to change everything tonight. Are you prepared for that?" "I don't know, but I'm done being safe. Let's change everything." The show began. The lights dimmed. Music filled the space. And one by one, the models walked that runway. Every piece was perfect. The hanbok-inspired dresses flowed beautifully, celebrating curves instead of hiding them. The streetwear looked expensive and cool. The colors were rich and vibrant. It was everything Ya had dreamed of and more. The audience erupted, not just polite applause, but actual cheering, standing ovation, cameras flashing everywhere. "Take your bow," Jihoon said, appearing beside her. "This is your moment." Ya walked onto that runway, tears streaming down her face. The applause was deafening. She looked out at the audience and saw plus-size women crying, fashion critics on their feet, buyers already making notes. She'd done it. They'd done it. Changed the game. Made history. At the after-party, orders flooded in. Media wanted interviews. Her social media exploded with positive coverage. The collection was being called revolutionary groundbreaking, the future of Korean fashion. Jihoon found her on the balcony where she'd escaped for air. "How does it feel to be a revolutionary?" "Surreal, overwhelming, Perfect. She turned to him. Thank you for the opportunity, for the support, for believing in me when no one else would. You did all the work. I just provided resources. You provided more than that. You provided protection, encouragement, honesty about your world. You let me see all of you, not just the acceptable parts. And you didn't run. That matters more than you know. They stood there, soul sparkling below them, the party continuing inside, both of them aware that something fundamental had shifted. So, Ya said, about that trip away from Seoul. Still interested? Definitely interested, but I have one question. What's that? After the trip, after we figure out what this is between us, what happens? Do I keep working for you? Do I start my own thing? Where does this go? Wherever we want it to go. Ji-hoon took her hands. Yeah, I'm not good at relationships. I'm controlling, demanding, sometimes cold when I'm stressed. My world is violent and complicated. But with you, I want to try. Want to build something real, not just transactional. I'm not easy either. I'm stubborn. I challenge everything. I refuse to compromise on things that matter, and your world still terrifies me. Good. You should stay a little terrified. Keeps you smart. He smiled. But being terrified and being brave enough to stay anyway, that's what matters. So we're doing this? Actually trying to make something work despite the impossible odds? We're doing this. Partners in revolution and in whatever comes next. Ya kissed him, not caring who saw from inside. Let them talk. Let them judge. She'd spent her whole life being judged. Time to live on her terms. I love you, she said when they pulled apart, surprising herself with the admission. I don't know how or when it happened, but I do. All of you, even the dangerous parts. Ji-hoon's eyes went wide, vulnerable. I love you too. Have for weeks, was too scared to say it, because saying it makes it real, makes it something that can be taken away. Nothing's taking me away. I'm staying, Ji-hoon. We're building something beautiful in your dark world. Together. Together, he echoed, pulling her close. I like the sound of that more than I ever thought possible. They stood there on the balcony, holding each other, the city below them, the revolution they'd started continuing inside, both of them aware they were beginning something that would change both their lives. The road ahead would be complicated. There would be more threats, more challenges, more moments where Ya would question her choices. But standing there with Ji-hoon, feeling his heartbeat, seeing Seoul spread out like a kingdom they'd conquered together, she knew it would be worth it. She'd come to Korea to prove herself. She'd ended up finding herself, her purpose, and someone who saw every part of her and loved her anyway. Not bad for someone whose suitcase exploded at the airport. Not bad at all. If you've made it this far in this journey, hit that subscribe button because Ya and Ji-hoon's story is just beginning. Drop a comment telling me what you think happens next for these two. And give this video a like if you believe in love stories that start with disasters and end in revolutions. Remember, you deserve to take up space. You deserve beautiful things. You deserve love that sees all of you and chooses you anyway. Don't let anyone tell you differently. Thank you for sticking with Afro-Seoul Mafia Tales. Until next time, keep being unapologetically yourself. The right people and opportunities will find you, even if it takes an exploding suitcase and a dangerous mafia prince to make it happen.